The large meeting room on Council Station Alpha was filled with tension. Captain Lee Minho stood at the center of the circular table, watching the two alien species glare at each other across the polished metal surface. On his left sat the Krathens, their thick armored bodies making the chairs creak under their weight. Their leader, General Vorthak, had scars covering his face from countless battles. On his right, the Velpani delegation whispered among themselves in their musical language. Their leader, Trademaster Zilani, kept checking the datapad in her four-fingered hands. Lee Minho had been doing this job for 15 years. He was Earth's best diplomat, and everyone knew it. The other species in the galaxy respected him because he always found ways to make peace. Today's problem was about mining rights on Kepler 442b, a planet rich in rare metals that both species wanted to claim. General Vorthak, Lee Minho said in a calm voice, "Your people have been mining asteroids for 300 years. You understand the value of these metals better than anyone." The Krathen general nodded slowly. His people were warriors, but they were also practical. "The humans speak truth. We know the worth of such materials." Lee Minho turned to the Velpani delegation. "Trademaster Zilani, your people have the best trading networks in this sector. You can move these materials to markets that need them most." Zilani's large dark eyes blinked twice, which meant she was thinking. "This is also truth, human diplomat." "Then here is my proposal," Lee Minho continued. "The Krathens will handle all mining operations. They have the strength and technology for heavy work. The Velpani will handle all transportation and trade. You have the ships and the connections. Both species will share the profits equally." General Vorthak slammed his massive fist on the table, but not in anger. It was approval. Simple, fair. We accept this. Trademaster Zilani spoke quickly with her advisors in their singing language. After a few minutes, she looked up. "We also accept." The human shows wisdom once again. Lee Minho smiled and pulled out the official documents. This was his job, and he was good at it. In the past 50 years since Earth joined the Galactic Council, humans had become known as the peacemakers. Other species came to them when they could not solve their own problems. As the two groups signed the agreement, Lee Minho felt proud. Another war prevented, another problem solved with words instead of weapons. This was what Earth stood for in the galaxy, but not everyone was happy about human success. In a dark corner of the station, three figures met in secret. They belonged to different species, but they shared one thing. They all thought humans were becoming too powerful. "The humans make themselves necessary," hissed Drex, a snake-like Salanthi. "Every species now comes to them first for help." "Soft creatures," growled Crag, a Thraxian with thick gray skin and yellow eyes. "They have no real strength. Only words." "Words that make them rich and influential," added Yeth, a insect-like Zephyrian. "While we fight each other, they grow stronger." Drex's forked tongue flicked out as he spoke. Perhaps it is time to test how strong their words really are. Back in his office, Lee Minho was reviewing reports from across the galaxy. Dr. Kim Nari, Earth's chief scientist on the station, entered carrying a datapad. She was a brilliant woman who studied alien cultures and biology. Her work helped humans understand other species better. "Minho, I need to show you something," she said, her voice worried. She handed him the datapad. On the screen were communication intercepts that Earth's intelligence network had gathered. The messages were encrypted, but Dr. Kim Nari had broken the codes. "What am I looking at?" Lee Minho asked. "Secret meetings. At least 12 different species have been talking to each other without going through normal council channels." Dr. Kim Nari explained. "They're discussing human influence in the galaxy." Lee Minho read through the messages. Most were complaints about how humans always got involved in other species' business. Some were angry about how human solutions often worked better than their own ideas. A few mentioned something called the human problem. "How serious is this?" he asked. "I don't know yet. But Minho, some of these species have never worked together before. The fact that they're talking at all is strange." Before Lee Minho could respond, his communication device beeped. It was a priority message from Commander Park Ji-won, the head of Earth's fleet in this sector. The message was short. "We need to talk. Now." Lee Minho found Commander Park Ji-won in the station's observation deck, looking out at the stars. Park Ji-won was a soldier, not a diplomat. He had spent 20 years in Earth's military before taking this assignment. His job was supposed to be ceremonial. commanding a small fleet that mostly did rescue operations and showed Earth's flag. "What's wrong?" Lee Min-ho asked. "3 of my ships reported being scanned by unknown vessels yesterday," Park Ji-won said without turning around. "Deep scans. The kind you do when you're studying someone's weapons and defenses. Could be pirates. Pirates don't have this kind of scanning equipment. This was military grade." Park Ji-won finally turned to face Lee Min-ho. "Someone is studying our ships, learning our capabilities." Lee Min-ho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Any idea who?" The scans came from different directions. Different ship designs. At least 3 different species, maybe more. Dr. Kim Nari's intelligence report suddenly made more sense. The secret meetings, the complaints about human influence, and now military scouting. Something was building and Earth was the target. "What do you recommend?" Lee Min-ho asked. "I've already sent a message to Admiral Song Hyun-woo on Earth. He needs to know what's happening out here." Lee Min-ho knew that name. Admiral Song Hyun-woo was a legend in Earth's military. He had been retired for 10 years, but everyone said he was the best strategic mind Earth had ever produced. "Do you think we're in real danger?" Commander Park Ji-won was quiet for a long moment. "Min-ho, we've been playing the role of peaceful mediators for 50 years. It's made us friends, but it's also made us enemies. Some species think we're weak because we prefer talking to fighting. Are we weak? That's the wrong question. The right question is, are we ready for what might be coming?" The next day brought terrible news. A human research station in the Outer Rim had gone silent. The station, called Deep Space Research Facility 7, had 200 scientists and support staff. They were studying ancient alien technology found on a dead world. Lee Min-ho rushed to the communication center as reports came in. A Thraxian patrol ship had found the station destroyed. According to their report, it looked like a reactor accident. The entire station was gone with no survivors. But Commander Park Ji-won's investigation found something different. The explosion pattern was wrong for a reactor accident. The debris field showed signs of weapons damage. Someone had attacked the station and tried to make it look like an accident. When Lee Min-ho brought this evidence to the Galactic Council, the response was disappointing. The council members offered their sympathy for the loss of human life. They promised to investigate the incident thoroughly, but Lee Min-ho could see in their eyes that nothing would happen. No one would be held responsible. No justice would come. Ambassador Choi Sung-min, Earth's senior representative on the council, tried to push for a real investigation. He had spent 30 years building relationships with other species. He called in every favor, reminded every alien leader of times when Earth had helped them. The answer was always the same. "We are very sorry for your loss, but accidents happen in space." That night, Lee Min-ho sat in his quarters, staring at the list of names from the research station. 200 good people dead, scientists who had dedicated their lives to peaceful research, support staff who had families waiting for them to come home. His communication device chimed. It was a message from Earth, from the highest levels of government. The message was simple, but it changed everything. "Admiral Song Hyun-woo has been recalled to active duty. Commander Park Ji-won will receive new orders within 48 hours. Continue diplomatic efforts, but prepare for other possibilities." Lee Min-ho understood what this meant. For 50 years, Earth had chosen peace. They had built their reputation on solving problems without violence. But someone had just killed 200 humans and thought they could get away with it. The galaxy was about to learn that there was a difference between choosing peace and being unable to fight. Outside his window, the stars looked the same as always, but Lee Min-ho knew that everything had changed. The diplomatic facade was starting to crack, and underneath it, something much more dangerous was waking up. The emergency meeting in Earth's secure facility beneath Geneva was unlike anything the government had held in decades. President Martinez sat at the head of the table, her face grim as she listened to the reports. Around her sat the most powerful people in Earth's government, along with several faces that most people thought were retired. Admiral Song Hyun-woo looked exactly like the legends said. He was a small man with gray hair and calm eyes, but everyone in the room knew he was the most dangerous human alive. For 30 years, he had been Earth's top military strategist. His retirement had been a relief to many alien species who feared his reputation. "Tell me about the research station," he said quietly. Commander Park Ji-won stood and activated the holographic display. Images of the destroyed station filled the air above the table. 203 dead. The attack was professional. Multiple strike points coordinated timing. The attackers knew exactly where to hit to make it look like an accident. Suspects? The Thraxians were first on the scene, but that could be coincidence. However, we detected weapon signatures from at least 3 different species. This was planned by multiple groups working together. Admiral Song Hyunwoo nodded slowly. "Show me our current fleet positions." The display changed to show Earth ships throughout the galaxy. The fleet looked impressive on the screen, but everyone in the room knew the truth. Most of Earth's ships were designed for peacekeeping and rescue operations. They had some weapons, but nothing compared to the warships other species built. "How quickly can we change that?" Admiral Song Hyunwoo asked. Engineer Yu Jimin, a young man with thick glasses and nervous energy, cleared his throat. "Admiral, we've been working on some projects. Unofficial projects. Things that weren't approved for production because we were committed to peaceful solutions. Show me." Yu Jimin's hands moved quickly over his control pad. New images appeared in the holographic display. Quantum disruptors that can penetrate any known shield technology. Phase shields that make our ships nearly invisible to enemy sensors. Kinetic bombardment systems that can crack a planet's crust. The room was silent. These were not peacekeeping weapons. These were tools of war. "How long to begin production?" Admiral Song Hyunwoo asked. "The factories can be retooled in 6 weeks. Full production in 3 months. Do it." Dr. Kim Nari spoke up from her seat near the window. "Admiral, we still don't know if diplomacy might work. If we start building these weapons, other species will see it as aggressive. Dr. Kim, how many secret meetings has your intelligence network detected in the past month?" She checked her data pad. 47 confirmed. Probably twice that number we haven't discovered yet. "How many of those meetings included discussions of human activities?" "All of them." Admiral Song Hyunwoo stood and walked to the large window overlooking the city. "Dr. Kim, for 50 years we've tried to be the galaxy's peacemakers. We've solved their problems, prevented their wars, saved their people, and now they meet in secret to discuss the human problem. Tell me, what more could we have done to earn their trust?" Dr. Kim Nari had no answer. Lee Min-ho received his new orders while he was still on Council Station Alpha. He would continue his diplomatic work, but now he had additional responsibilities. Earth's intelligence network was being expanded, and he would coordinate information gathering in the core systems. His first task was to approach the Council about justice for the research station attack. Ambassador Choi Sung-min had arranged a formal hearing, where Earth would present evidence and demand action. The Council chamber was a massive circular room with seats for representatives from 47 different species. As Lee Min-ho walked to the center podium, he could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching him. Some looked sympathetic. Others seemed bored. A few appeared hostile. "Honored council members," Lee Min-ho began, "we are here to seek justice for the murder of 203 human beings." He activated his holographic projector and showed the evidence Commander Park Ji-won had gathered. The weapon signatures, the attack patterns, the false accident staging. Everything pointed to a coordinated assault by multiple species. "The evidence is clear," Lee Min-ho continued. "This was not an accident. This was an act of war against Earth and the Galactic Council." Councillor Drex, the Salanthi representative, spoke first. His voice was a cold hiss that echoed through the chamber. "The human shows interesting pictures, but pictures can lie. Where are the witnesses? Where are the ship recordings from the attackers?" "The attackers destroyed all evidence except what we found in the debris," Lee Min-ho replied. "How convenient," said Councillor Cragg from the Thraxian delegation. "Humans accuse others but provide no proof that would stand in a real court." The debate continued for hours. Every piece of evidence was questioned. Every conclusion was challenged. Lee Min-ho realized that many council members had already made up their minds before the hearing began. They would not find the attackers guilty because they did not want to find them guilty. When the vote came, the result was predictable. 26 species voted for insufficient evidence. 15 voted to continue the investigation. Only 6 voted to hold the accused species responsible. Ambassador Choi Seung-min's face was pale as they left the chamber. 30 years, he whispered. 30 years of friendship, and this is what it gets us." That night, Lee Min-ho sent an encrypted message to Earth. "Council refuses justice. Diplomatic solution unlikely." The response came from Admiral Song Hyunwoo himself. "Understood. Continue efforts, but prepare for alternatives. Those alternatives became clear 2 weeks later. Earth quietly recalled Ambassador Choi Sung-min and half of their diplomatic staff from council stations throughout the galaxy. The official reason was budget concerns, but everyone understood the real message. At the same time, engineer Yu Jaemin's secret projects moved into full production. New factories built weapons that had only existed in computer simulations. Shipyards began refitting Earth's peaceful vessels with systems that could kill. Pilot Bai So-young was one of the first to test the new equipment. She was 28 years old and the best pilot in Earth's fleet. Her fighter squadron had won every training competition for 3 years straight, but they had never seen real combat. The new fighters were nothing like the old ones. They were faster, more maneuverable, and carried weapons that could punch through anything the galaxy had seen before. During her first test flight, Bai So-young realized that Earth had been holding back for 50 years. "Control, this is incredible," she radioed back to base. "These ships are weapons of art. How do they handle in combat scenarios?" asked the flight controller. "I could take on 5 enemy fighters with this and win." But Earth's military preparations had to remain secret. The galaxy still saw humans as peaceful mediators. Any sign of weapons buildup would confirm the worst fears of the species plotting against them. Dr. Kim Nari's intelligence network worked day and night to track the secret meetings. What they discovered was worse than anyone had expected. The conspiracy against Earth included some of their oldest allies. Species that had worked with humans for decades were now planning to drive them from entire sectors of space. The plan was simple and brutal. A coordinated attack on human colonies would be followed by demands for Earth to withdraw from all disputed territories. If humans refused, more attacks would follow until they agreed to limit themselves to their home system. "They think we're soft," Commander Park Ji-won explained to his senior officers. 50 years of peaceful solutions has convinced them that we won't fight back. "Will we?" asked Captain Han Ji-soo, the leader of Earth's new stealth fleet. "That's not our decision to make. But if the order comes, we'll be ready." The order came sooner than anyone expected. The colony ship New Sol was carrying 50,000 civilians to establish a new settlement in the Kepler system. It was one of Earth's largest civilian vessels, equipped with families, children, and everything needed to build a new world. The attack came without warning. 3 different species coordinated the assault. Thraxian heavy cruisers provided the main firepower. Krathan fighters overwhelmed the escort ships. Velpani vessels jammed all communication frequencies. Commander Park Ji-won received the distress signal just as it cut off. His ships were 6 hours away at maximum speed. By the time they arrived, it was too late. The New Sol was a burning wreck floating in space. 47,000 civilians were dead. Only 3,000 survivors were pulled from the life pods, many of them children who would never see their parents again. This time, there was no attempt to hide the attack. The perpetrators wanted Earth to know who was responsible. They wanted humans to understand that this was just the beginning. Lee Min-ho stood in the council chamber once more, but this time was different. The evidence was undeniable. The attackers had broadcast their intentions. There could be no debate about what had happened. "Honored council members," he said, his voice shaking with controlled anger. 47,000 innocent people are dead, men, women, and children murdered for the crime of seeking a new home among the stars. The chamber was silent. Even the most hostile representatives seemed uncomfortable with the scale of the massacre. "We demand justice," Lee Min-ho continued. The galaxy-wide broadcast began at exactly 1200 hours Universal Standard Time. Every communication frequency, every news network, every diplomatic channel carried the same signal. Admiral Song Hyun-woo appeared on screens across 47 star systems, sitting behind a simple desk with Earth's flag visible behind him. His voice was calm, but there was something in his eyes that made listeners feel cold. "Citizens of the galaxy, I am Admiral Song Hyun-woo of Earth's Defense Forces. For 50 years, humanity has served as peacemakers in this galaxy. We have mediated your disputes, prevented your wars, and saved countless lives through diplomatic solutions." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Yesterday, 47,000 innocent human civilians were murdered by a coordinated attack from species we considered friends. Children, families, scientists, teachers, all killed for the crime of seeking a new home among the stars." The image switched to footage from the destroyed colony ship, bodies floating in space, children's toys drifting among the debris. The galaxy watched in silence as the true scope of the massacre became clear. The Galactic Council has refused to provide justice. They have shown that human lives have no value in their eyes. Therefore, Earth withdraws from all peace treaties, all diplomatic agreements, and all cooperative arrangements. Admiral Song Hyunwoo leaned forward, looking directly into the camera. You chose war. Humanity gave you 50 years of peace. Now you will learn why we were so committed to avoiding this moment. The broadcast ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. On Earth, the transformation had already begun. Factories that once produced civilian goods now manufactured weapons of war. Engineer Yu Jaemin's secret projects moved into mass production. Shipyards worked around the clock to refit peaceful vessels with systems designed to kill. General Kang Do-yun commanded Earth's rapid response forces. He was a veteran of every major peacekeeping operation for the past 20 years, but now his mission was different. His job was to show the galaxy what human military doctrine really looked like. The enemy expects us to fight like them, he explained to his officers. They think war is about taking territory, controlling resources, showing strength. They're wrong. Captain Han Jisoo, now leading Earth's stealth fleet, raised her hand. What is war about, sir? Winning. Completely. Permanently. The first human strike came without warning. Operation Swift Justice targeted Thraxian military installations across 12 star systems simultaneously. The attacks were precise, coordinated, and devastating. Pilot Bae So-young led her squadron against the Thraxian naval base at Rigel 7. The enemy expected a traditional assault, ships in formation, exchanging fire at long-range hours of battle. Instead, they got something entirely different. Human fighters appeared from quantum phase space already inside the Thraxian defensive perimeter. Their weapons bypassed alien shields as if they didn't exist. Enemy ships died before they could even return fire. Target destroyed, Bae So-young reported. 17 minutes from start to finish. 0 human casualties. Similar reports came from all 12 target systems. Thraxian military power built over centuries was crippled in a single day. The galaxy's reaction was immediate panic. If humans could strike anywhere, anytime, without warning, then nowhere was safe. Dr. Kim Nari, now serving as military intelligence chief, monitored alien communications from her new command center on Earth. What she heard confirmed humanity's worst fears about their former allies. Intelligence intercept from Salanthi High Command. She reported to Admiral Song Hyunwoo. They're calling for immediate alliance with the Krathens and Velpani. Direct quote, the human threat must be eliminated before they become unstoppable. How many species are joining this alliance? 23 confirmed. More probably on the way. Admiral Song Hyunwoo nodded. Expected. Show me our next targets. The holographic display filled with star maps. Red dots marked enemy military installations. Blue lines showed human fleet movements. Yellow zones indicated civilian areas that would be avoided. Sir, said Lee Min-ho, who now coordinated intelligence operations, they're not just forming military alliances. Some species are evacuating their core worlds. They're genuinely terrified. Good. Fear will save lives. Theirs and ours. The next phase of human operations began a week later. Specialist Oh Min-seok led the psychological warfare campaign that would become known as the Whisper War. He was an expert in alien psychology, with degrees in xenobiology and communications theory. His first target was the Krathen Empire. Krathens were proud warriors who respected strength above all else. Oh Min-seok's team began broadcasting messages directly to Krathen military units, bypassing their command structure. The messages were simple. Your leaders sent you to die fighting humans. But humans don't want to kill you. Surrender now and return to your families. Continue fighting and you will never see home again. The broadcasts included footage from recent battles. Krathen ships being destroyed in seconds. Human fighters moving like ghosts through their formations. The message was clear. Resistance was futile. Within days, entire Krathen fleets began surrendering without firing a shot. Their own warriors, the foundation of their empire, had lost faith in their ability to fight humans. Commander Park Ji-won, now leading the main battle fleet, received the surrender of the Krathen 8th Fleet near the Vega system. The enemy admiral, a scarred veteran named Gorvak, came aboard Park Ji-won's flagship personally. Human commander, Gorvak said in his growling voice, my warriors have fought for 300 years. We have never known defeat. But your people, you fight like gods of war. We fight to win, Park Ji-won replied. Nothing more, nothing less. Why do you show mercy to those who surrender? Because the war is not against your people. It's against those who chose to murder our civilians. Gorvak nodded slowly. If more leaders thought like you, there would be fewer wars. But not everyone was ready to surrender. The Thraxian Empire, led by Emperor Vask, declared total war against humanity. Every Thraxian world would fight to the death rather than submit to human rule. The Battle of Kepler Station became the test of this resolve. The station was a massive military installation, guarding the approach to Thraxian home space. It had shields that could withstand planet-killing weapons and defensive systems that had never been breached. Admiral Song Hyun-woo personally commanded the assault fleet. His ships moved through space like a coordinated organism, each vessel perfectly positioned to support the others. This was human military doctrine at its finest. Not individual heroes, but unified purpose. The battle began with the Thraxians confident in their defenses. Kepler Station had fought off 3 different invasions in the past century. Its commander, General Vorthak, boasted that humans would break themselves against his shields like waves on a cliff. He was wrong. Engineer Yu Jaemin's quantum disruptors didn't try to overpower the station's shields. They simply made the shields irrelevant. Human weapons passed through Thraxian defenses as if they weren't there, but more terrifying than the weapons was the precision. Every shot hit exactly where it was aimed. Every attack served a specific purpose. The humans weren't just winning, they were demonstrating complete mastery of space warfare. Station. Shields down, reported the sensor. Operator. Defensive batteries neutralized. Called out another. Enemy fleet in full retreat. The entire battle lasted 43 minutes. Kepler Station, the pride of the Thraxian military, was captured with minimal damage and almost no human casualties. General Vorthak, wounded but alive, was brought before Admiral Song Hyun-woo in the station's command center. You fight without honor, Vorthak growled. Real warriors face their enemies openly. Real warriors protect their own people, Admiral Song Hyun-woo replied. You started this war by murdering our civilians. We will end it by whatever means necessary. The Emperor will never surrender. We will fight until the last Thraxian dies. Admiral Song Hyun-woo studied the alien general for a long moment. That is your choice. But understand this, we don't want to rule your people. We don't want your territory or your resources. We want justice for our dead and assurance that this will never happen again. And if we refuse, then you will learn why humanity spent 50 years trying to avoid this war. News of Kepler Station's fall spread across the galaxy in hours. The implications were terrifying. If humans could take the Thraxian strongest fortress in less than an hour, what chance did anyone else have? The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Species that had supported the attack on human colonies now desperately tried to distance themselves from the decision. Others proposed immediate peace negotiations, but Admiral Song Hyun-woo's response was broadcast to every world in the galaxy. Peace will come when justice is done. The species responsible for murdering our civilians will face the consequences of their actions. Those who choose to stand with the guilty will share their fate. Dr. Kim Nari's intelligence network reported massive population movements across alien space. Entire species were evacuating their border worlds, moving deeper into their own territory. Some were building defensive installations that had no hope of stopping human forces. They're doing exactly what we would do, she told Admiral Song Hyun-woo, falling back to defensive positions, trying to make the cost of victory too high for us to accept. Emperor Vask stood on the balcony of his palace, looking out over the capital city of Thraxos Prime. Below him, millions of Thraxians went about their daily lives, unaware that their world was about to become the center of the galaxy's attention. The Emperor's thick gray skin was marked with the ritual scars of his rank, and his yellow eyes burned with the fury of a cornered predator. My lord, said General Thirak, his military advisor, the human fleet has been detected at the edge of our system. They will reach Thraxos Prime in 18 hours. How many ships? Our sensors count over 300 vessels. But my lord, these are not the peaceful ships the humans used for 50 years. These are warships designed for one purpose. Emperor Vask turned from the balcony. His massive frame filled the doorway as he entered his command center. The room buzzed with activity as Thraxian officers coordinated the defense of their homeworld. "Admiral Corvus," he called to his fleet commander. "Report." The admiral's scarred face showed the strain of recent defeats. "My lord, we have assembled every available ship. 237 vessels of all classes. The orbital defense platforms are fully powered. Ground-based missile systems are ready. Can we win?" Admiral Corvus hesitated. "My lord, the humans have destroyed every force we have sent against them. Their technology is beyond our understanding. Their tactics are unlike anything we have faced. That was not my question. Can we win? If the gods favor us, and if the humans make mistakes, and if our warriors fight beyond their limits, perhaps?" Emperor Vask nodded. "Then we fight. Send word to every Thraxian warrior in the galaxy. Come home, die with honor defending our sacred world, or live with shame forever." Across the galaxy, the call went out. Thraxian fleets abandoned their positions and raced toward their homeworld. Ancient warrior codes demanded that every true Thraxian answer the Emperor's summons. Within hours, ships began arriving from across their empire. But they were not alone in their preparations. Admiral Song Hyunwoo stood in the command center of his flagship, the Earth Defense Ship Unity. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in his fleet. 300 human vessels moved through space with perfect coordination, like a single organism with one mind. "Admiral," reported Captain Han Jisoo, "Thraxian reinforcements are arriving hourly. Enemy strength now estimated at over 400 ships. Good. Better to face them all at once than hunt them down one by one." Lee Min-ho, monitoring alien communications, looked up from his station. "Sir, I'm receiving surrender offers from 12 different species. They want to negotiate separate peace treaties. Response? The war ends when Emperor Vask surrenders unconditionally. Until then, anyone who stands with the Thraxians shares their fate." Dr. Kim Nari entered the command center carrying her latest intelligence report. "Admiral, we've identified the key targets on Thraxos Prime. The Emperor's Palace, military command centers, weapons factories, communication hubs. If we take these quickly, we can end the war without massive civilian casualties. Estimated time for capture? With our current capabilities, 6 to 8 hours for complete control of the planet." Admiral Song Hyunwoo studied the tactical displays. The approaching battle would be the largest space engagement in galactic history. Hundreds of ships, thousands of lives, the fate of entire civilizations hanging in the balance. "Signal the fleet," he said. "All ships prepare for Operation Final. Justice." The battle began at dawn on Thraxos Prime, the planet's 3 moons provided a spectacular backdrop, as nearly 800 warships faced each other across the void. On one side, the Thraxian fleet with its allies, a mixture of species united by their fear of human power. On the other side, humanity's carefully coordinated armada. Emperor Vask commanded from his flagship, the Deathbringer, a massive vessel that had served as the pride of the Thraxian navy for 2 centuries. As he watched the human fleet approach, he felt something he had never experienced before. Doubt. "My lord," Admiral Corvus reported, "the humans are not attacking in formation. Their ships are dancing, it was true. The human fleet moved like nothing the Thraxians had ever seen. Ships weaved between each other in complex patterns, each vessel covering others while maintaining perfect firing positions. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time." Pilot Bae So-young led the fighter assault from her upgraded interceptor. Behind her flew 200 of humanity's best pilots, each one trained in the new combat doctrines that made them nearly unstoppable. "All squadrons, remember your training," she transmitted. "We're not here to show off. We're here to end this war. Fast, clean, efficient." The first exchange of fire lit up space like a new star being born. Thraxian plasma cannons, weapons that could melt through asteroid belts, struck human ships and accomplished nothing. Engineer Yu Jemin's phase shields turned the most powerful weapons in the galaxy into light shows. But human weapons were different. Quantum disruptors reached through enemy armor as if it were paper. Kinetic bombardment systems delivered force with surgical precision. Every human shot found its target, and every target that was hit was destroyed or disabled. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Corvus as he watched his ships die around him. "No one fights like this." The battle's turning point came when Specialist Oh Min-seok's psychological warfare reached the enemy fleet. Human transmissions flooded Thraxian communication channels, but these were not demands for surrender. Instead, they were something far more devastating. the truth. "Thraxian warriors," the broadcast said, "your emperor sent you to die for his pride. Your families need you alive. Your children need fathers who come home. We do not want to kill you. Surrender now and return to those who love you." The messages included real-time footage of the battle, Thraxian ships exploding, human fighters moving through their formations like ghosts. The numerical advantage that Emperor Vask counted on was disappearing by the minute. More damaging than the casualties were the defections. Entire squadrons of Thraxian fighters began landing on human ships, their pilots choosing survival over certain death. Ship after ship broadcast surrender signals as their crews realized the hopelessness of their situation. Emperor Vask watched his navy disintegrate around him. In 3 hours of battle, he had lost 60% of his fleet. The humans had lost exactly 0 ships. "My lord," Admiral Corvus said quietly, "we cannot win this battle. Then we die with honor." "My lord, there is no honor in meaningless death. Our people need leaders who can protect them, not martyrs who abandon them." For the first time in his life, Emperor Vask considered retreat. But the decision was taken from him when human marines materialized on his bridge. Captain Hanjisu's stealth ships had placed boarding parties on every major Thraxian vessel simultaneously. The Thraxians never saw them coming, never detected the transport beams, never had a chance to resist. "Emperor Vask," said Commander Park Ji-won as he removed his helmet, "by the authority of Earth's government, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity." The Emperor's massive frame towered over the human officer, but Park Ji-won showed no fear. Behind him, human marines in powered armor made resistance pointless. "You dare board my flagship?" "We dare many things, Emperor. The question is whether you care more about your pride or your people's lives." Emperor Vask looked around his bridge. His officers were surrounded but unharmed. Through the viewports, he could see the battle ending as more Thraxian ships surrendered or fled. His great fleet, the pride of his empire, was finished. "What are your terms?" "Unconditional surrender. Full cooperation in identifying those responsible for the attack on our colony ship. Reparations for the families of our dead. And most importantly, your personal guarantee that this will never happen again." "And if I refuse?" Commander Park Ji-won gestured toward the tactical display, where the remains of the Thraxian fleet drifted in space. "Then we finish what you started." "But Emperor, we didn't come here to destroy your people. We came here to stop a war." The formal surrender took place on the surface of Thraxos Prime. Emperor Vask, flanked by his surviving admirals, signed the documents that ended the war. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy, showing every species what happened to those who chose to murder human. Civilians General Kang Do-yun accepted the surrender on behalf of Earth. He had commanded the ground assault that captured the planet's major cities in less than 6 hours. Thraxian resistance had collapsed when they realized their orbital defenses were useless against human weapons. "The war is over," he announced to the watching galaxy. "Emperor Vask and his co-conspirators will face justice for their crimes. The Thraxian people are free to choose their own future, as long as it includes respect for human life." But the galaxy's reaction to humanity's victory was not what anyone expected. Instead of gratitude or relief, many species felt a new kind of fear. If humans could destroy the Thraxian Empire in 72 hours, what could they do to anyone else who displeased them? Dr. Kim Nari monitored the communications flowing between alien governments. What she found disturbed her. "Admiral," she reported to Song Hyunwoo, "they're more afraid of us now than they were before the war." "Explain." "Multiple species are discussing the human problem again. But now they're not talking about limiting our influence. They're talking about whether they can coexist with us at..." The new council chambers on Earth looked very different from the old ones on Council Station Alpha. Instead of the circular design that put all species on equal footing, the human architects had created something that reflected the galaxy's new reality. Earth's representatives sat at the center, with other species arranged around them according to their cooperation during the recent war. Lee Min-ho walked to the podium wearing the uniform of Earth's High Chancellor, a position that had been created specifically for him. Behind him sat Admiral Song Hyunwoo, now serving as military advisor to the new Galactic Union. The change in their roles reflected how completely the galaxy had transformed. "Representatives of 43 worlds," Lee Min-ho began, his voice carrying the authority that came from representing the galaxy's dominant power. We gather today to establish the principles that will guide our new union. In the front row sat the former enemies who had learned to respect human justice. Emperor Vask, no longer an emperor but still the elected leader of the Thraxian people, nodded respectfully. Beside him, Admiral Corvus wore the insignia of the new Galactic Defense Force where he served under human command. The old council failed because it valued politics over justice. Lee Minho continued. Species could murder civilians and face no consequences. Aggression was rewarded with negotiation. Weakness was mistaken for diplomacy. Dr. Kim Nari, now director of the Institute for Interspecies Understanding, watched from her seat in the scientific section. Her role had evolved from intelligence gathering to something far more important, teaching the galaxy how to coexist under human protection. The new union operates on different principles, Lee Minho announced. Justice is swift and certain. Aggression against any member world will be met with immediate response from the Galactic Defense Force. And most importantly, the rights of civilians, regardless of species, are absolute and non-negotiable. The response from the assembled representatives was unanimous approval, not because they necessarily agreed with human leadership, but because they had learned the cost of opposition. General Kang Do-hyun, now serving as Supreme Commander of Galactic Peacekeeping, stood to address the military aspects of the new order. The Galactic Defense Force serves one purpose, he said, to prevent the kind of tragedy that led to this war. Every world contributes ships and personnel according to their capabilities. But command structure, training, and rules of engagement are standardized according to human military doctrine. Captain Han Ji-soo, promoted to Admiral of the Stealth Fleet, had spent the past year implementing this standardization. The results were remarkable. Alien species that had fought each other for centuries now worked together under human leadership with unprecedented efficiency. The key, she explained to her mixed species officers, is that everyone knows the rules and everyone knows the consequences of breaking them. When you remove politics from military operations, everything becomes simpler. Her second-in-command, a Krethan named Vorthek, agreed completely. Under the old system, we spent more time arguing about objectives than achieving them. Human leadership eliminates that confusion. Engineer Yu Jaemin had transformed from secret weapons developer to the galaxy's leading authority on defensive technology. His new role involved sharing human innovations with member worlds, but only for peaceful purposes. The quantum shields we're installing on your trade routes, he explained to a group of Velpani merchants, will protect your ships from pirates and raiders. But remember, the technology is keyed to our control systems. Any attempt to use these defenses aggressively will result in immediate shutdown. It was a perfect example of how humanity maintained control while providing benefits. Every species in the Union enjoyed unprecedented security and prosperity, but they did so under terms that made human dominance unquestionable. Pilot Bae So-young, now the youngest admiral in galactic history, commanded the rapid response fleets that enforced these terms. Her ships could reach any point in Union space within hours, carrying enough firepower to end most conflicts before they truly began. The best part of this job, she told her pilots during a training exercise, is how rarely we actually have to fight. When everyone knows you can win, most problems solve themselves. Her squadron included pilots from a dozen different species, all trained to human standards. The mixing of alien and human crews had produced unexpected benefits. Alien species contributed unique perspectives and capabilities, while human training provided the discipline and coordination that made everything work. But the new order was not just about military control. The economic transformation of the galaxy had been equally dramatic. The Velpani, once independent traders, now operated under human-supervised commercial codes. Trademaster Zilani found herself more prosperous than ever, but also more constrained. The humans eliminated piracy, standardized currencies, and opened new markets, she explained to a gathering of merchant captains. Our profits have increased 300%. But we trade where they allow, when they allow, and according to their regulations. Do you resent this control? Asked one of the younger traders. Zilani's large eyes blinked thoughtfully. Child, I have traded in this galaxy for 60 years. I have seen wars destroy entire trade routes, pirates steal entire cargo fleets, and corrupt officials demand bribes that bankrupted honest merchants. Human control is not freedom, but it is justice. And justice, I have learned, is more valuable than freedom without security. This sentiment was echoed across the galaxy. Species that had initially resented human dominance were discovering the benefits of a system where rules were clear, enforcement was certain, and justice was blind to species differences. Dr. Kim Nari's institute had become the galaxy's most important educational establishment. Alien diplomats, military officers, and government officials came to Earth to learn human methods of administration, conflict resolution, and social organization. The goal, she explained to a class of mixed-species students, is not to make you human. It's to teach you the principles that allowed humans to create stable, peaceful societies. These principles work regardless of your biology or culture. Her most successful student was a young Thraxian named Kelvak, who had lost his father in the war against humanity. Instead of harboring resentment, he had dedicated himself to understanding human philosophy. Humans taught us that strength without justice is merely bullying, he wrote in his graduation thesis. True power comes from protecting those who cannot protect themselves, regardless of whether they are your own species. Commander Park Ji-won, now serving as Director of Interspecies Military Cooperation, had overseen the integration of former enemies into the unified defense structure. The transformation of the Thraxian military was particularly remarkable. 6 months ago we were trying to kill each other, he observed to Admiral Corvus during a joint training exercise. Now your officers serve alongside mine as if they had been allies for decades. Humans showed us that honor comes from service, not conquest, Corvus replied. My warriors are happier protecting trade routes and rescue operations than they ever were fighting wars of expansion. The final test of the new order came when the Zephyrian Confederacy, a species that had remained neutral during the war, attempted to raid human shipping lanes. They calculated that humanity was too busy managing the galaxy to respond quickly to attacks on the frontier. They were wrong, Admiral Bay. So-Young's response fleet arrived at the attack site 4 hours after the first distress call. The Zephyrian raiders found themselves facing human ships supported by Thraxian heavy cruisers, Krathan fighters, and Velpani support vessels, all working together with perfect coordination. The battle lasted 12 minutes. Not a single raider escaped. The message, Admiral Bae So-Young explained in her report, was not just to the Zephyrians, but to anyone else considering testing our resolve. Attack any member of the Union, and you face the combined might of all members led by human strategic doctrine. The Zephyrian surrender was immediate and unconditional. Within a week they had applied for membership in the Galactic Union. 1 year after the war's end, Lee Min-ho stood once again before the assembled representatives of the galaxy. But this time his speech was very different. Today marks the anniversary of the end of the Galactic War, he said. In the past 12 months, we have eliminated piracy in 7 sectors, mediated 43 territorial disputes, and prevented 6 different species from going to war with each other. The statistics were impressive, but the human leaders knew they represented something more important, proof that their system worked. Trade volume has increased by 400%. Civilian casualties from armed conflict have decreased by 98%. Scientific cooperation has reached levels never before seen in galactic history. Dr. Kim Nari's research showed that the benefits went beyond mere numbers. Species that had been enemies for centuries were beginning to work together on projects that benefited everyone. The Krathans used their engineering expertise to help the Velpani build better cargo ships. The Thraxians shared their military traditions with species that had never developed strong defensive capabilities. But most importantly, Lee Min-ho continued,